Do you think that morality, right and wrong, comes from something within inside yourself, like your opinion or what society says, or is it something outside of ourselves and greater than our opinions and greater than what society norms are?
Me personally, I think there's something else that you have to look towards. I'm a believer in God, so I feel like that's where my beliefs and my morality comes from. That's where my truth comes from.
Okay, so which God do you believe in?
Jesus Christ.
Right and wrong come from something outside of yourself.
I do believe that it does come from within yourself, but also it's influenced by the people around you and like the environment you grew up in, like the environment around you.
Okay, so let's say there's a guy who grew up in was raised by wolves. Raised out in the woods, he grew up, if he was hungry, he would hunt down and kill whatever he wanted to eat. And so he comes into our society and he starts seeing, people. And he starts coming out of the mountains and he starts grabbing these people and he realizes kids are actually a little more tender. So he starts going for these small children. Would that be right or wrong?
Moral standpoint, just in society, it would be wrong. But to him, it wouldn't be because that's how he grew up. Like that's his morals and all that.
Does right and wrong come from something inside of ourselves, like our opinions or society norms, or something outside of ourselves, bigger than ourselves?
I feel like it definitely depends on the person. I feel like every single person has a different set of moral beliefs. As some could take it as religious, and some could be just within themselves or how they were grown up. So.
If it's not based on society, what is right and wrong based on?
That is actually a very good question.
Right and wrong comes from something outside of ourselves. So who does it come from?
Me personally, I would say from God, but other people could think differently.
And they would be wrong.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They'd be wrong.
Yeah, so.
Okay, and it's okay to say that.
Yeah.
Because other secular people would say that you're wrong for believing in God. So it's okay for you to say, no, you would be wrong, because if you leave God out of it, you are going straight to absurdity.
Yeah, you have no direction, exactly.
You have no right or wrong. You have no truth. Yeah. I'd challenge you with this too. For you to be an atheist, you would have to have absolute knowledge of everything. To say that God doesn't exist, you would have to be absolutely sure of everything. Now, how much knowledge do you think there is in the universe, and compared to how much we know? We probably know, 1% of all the knowledge in the world?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So do you know what the gospel is?
I think they're different books written by different individuals. Is that right?
So you do have the gospel books, Matthew,
Okay.
Mark, Luke, and John.
Right. Okay.
And so the gospels in general sense are the life, death, and resurrection of Christ.
Right.
But in a very specific sense, this is the gospel. We've all sinned.
Okay.
We all have dirty, wicked hearts. Our
Right.
hearts are sinful. The heart says in Jeremiah, hearts are deceitful above all things.
Right.
We've all fallen short of God's glory. And because we've sinned, we're separated from God.
Okay.
And by nature, because we're sinful, we naturally do these evil things like lie and steal. We don't have to teach kids to do that. They naturally do that.
Yeah. Right.
And so the gospel is the good news. And the good news, you got to know the bad news. The bad news is, we're separated from God from sin because we're sinners. We're sinful. We're wicked.
Right.
And because we're sinful, wicked, and separated from God by our sin, when we die, we don't actually deserve heaven. We don't actually automatically get a pass because we need a Savior.
Right.
And so the good news is Christ came. His name is Yeshua in the Hebrew, in the Hebrew, which means God saves.
Okay.
So God sent His Son in the world. Whoever believes in Him would not perish. So we can have everlasting life because God provided the sacrifice for sin. So whoever thirsts, when you're thirsty, you desire something.
Right.
So January, you were desiring something. You had this spiritual thirst.
Mm-hmm.
And Christ says, whoever thirsts, come to me.
Yeah.
And I'll give them the living water, and they'll never thirst again. So